History remembers England as a global titan, master of oceans, builder of empires, ruler of 1/4 of the earth. But behind the triumphs lies a hidden truth. For every victory, there were ambitions that collapsed in silence, forgotten invasions, abandoned empires, lost dreams buried in archives and dust. These are not the stories you learned in school. These are England's greatest failures, the projects it could never finish, and the world it tried but failed to reshape. Long before England even bore its name, Roman rulers looked to Londinium with imperial ambition. Some among the Senate whispered that this thriving trade post, rich with grain, iron and silver, might one day rival Rome itself. Roads expanded, forts multiplied, but the dream crumbled. Rebellions in the north, barbarian incursions on the continent, and the eventual fall of Rome left Londinium to the ruins of history. England's first great project died with the empire that bore it. In the 9th century, King Alfred the Great wasn't just defending Wessex, he was imagining a united Christian Britain. With his vision of law, learning and unification, Alfred fought off Viking invasions and laid the groundwork for English identity. But his ultimate goal, to bring Scotland, Wales and all Anglo lands under one banner, never happened. The Danelaw fractured unity. Resistance in the Celtic lands remained fierce. What could have been the first true united kingdom dissolved into centuries of border wars. Alfred may be called the Great, but his empire was an unfinished idea. He introduced a legal code, promoted education, and built fortified burhs to resist invasion. But unity required more than defense. It needed shared identity and cooperation. The disparate kingdoms of Britain weren't ready. In the end, Alfred gave England its roots, but not its full crown. Henry II's realm was vast, more French than English. With Eleanor of Aquitaine by his side, he ruled a patchwork empire that stretched from northern England to southern France. The dream, a united trans-channel superkingdom, but betrayal from within, sons turning on fathers, brothers fighting for power shattered the plan. French kings chipped away at lands. By King John's rule, most of it was lost. The Angevin Empire wasn't defeated in battle, it bled to death from its own veins. England's greatest medieval ambition fell victim to its own crown. Even the legal and administrative systems that Henry built, designed to bind lands together, couldn't survive internal chaos. The nobility resented central control, French vassals defected, and Eleanor herself turned against Henry. What could have been an early European Union crumbled, leaving England isolated on its island once again. While Europe surged toward the Holy Land, England hesitated. Kings like Edward I made bold declarations. They would reclaim Jerusalem, lead the faithful, and build divine glory. Parliament debated the funding. Ships were prepared. Knights swore oaths. But back home, rebellions flared. The Welsh rose. Scotland seethed. The money vanished. England's holy war never left the shore. What might have been a new Crusader state under St. George became just another item on history's to-do list. Edward did travel east, but only as far as Sicily during the 9th Crusade. There, illness and delays sapped momentum. Internal threats proved more urgent. Unlike Richard the Lionheart, Edward left the Holy Land untouched. The dream of a cross-bearing English army marching through Jerusalem remained an illusion of parchment and prayer. After defeating the Spanish Armada, England basked in glory. But Elizabeth's ministers weren't done. They plotted to finish Spain off. In 1589, an English fleet sailed to Lisbon to spark a Portuguese uprising and crush Spain's navy in port. Instead, it ended in chaos. Disease, bad planning, and lack of local support doomed the mission. Thousands died. Ships were lost. England's counter-armada became a disaster of historic scale. The victor of 1588 became the fool of 1589. Sir Francis Drake, hero of the earlier defense, was blamed for the failure. The Spanish gained breathing room. England learned that offense required more than courage. It required coordination, alliances, and luck. Lisbon never rose. Spain endured, and the myth of English invincibility cracked under the Atlantic wind. Oliver Cromwell didn't just want colonies. He wanted to make the Caribbean the heart of a new Protestant empire. Jamaica was the first jewel. The plan was to populate it, fortify it, and shift global trade from the Old World to the tropics. But disease decimated settlers. Logistics collapsed. Political instability at home ended the experiment. Jamaica became a colony, yes, but the vision of a Caribbean London buried in rum and red tape. Cromwell's Western design was part military conquest, part religious mission. He saw the Caribbean as a place to rival Catholic Spain's power, but the English Navy struggled in unfamiliar waters. Fortifications remained incomplete. Slavery expanded instead of governance. What was meant to be glory turned into grim survival. After losing the American colonies, England dreamed of a comeback. Some British elites believed they could undo the revolution with force, espionage, and alliances. Loyalists in the US were organized. Native nations were armed. Plans were drawn for naval strikes on the Atlantic coast, but time had passed. War weariness, economic crisis, and shifting priorities killed the dream. The empire would not rise again in America. What was lost in 1776 stayed lost forever. Efforts to create insurrections in Virginia and New York failed. British agents reported few reliable allies. Meanwhile, Parliament looked to India and the Pacific. America's independence, once seen as a humiliating wound, became a settled fact. England had to adapt, not reverse. The Redcoats wouldn't return. Hitler planned to invade Britain in 1940. But what if Britain had struck first? Churchill's war cabinet toyed with that idea: launch a surprise amphibious landing in France to cut off Nazi supply lines. It would be bold, historic, devastating. But after Dunkirk, British forces were too weak. The skies belonged to the Luftwaffe. Operation Sea Lion became a ghost, and England played defense instead of offense. A missed preemptive strike that might have changed the war forever. Military planners feared annihilation. A failed landing would hand Europe to Hitler, so Britain chose air power, leading to the legendary Battle of Britain. By not risking offense, they secured survival. But the cost was letting Nazi terror rule Europe for years longer. In the 1950s, Britain was racing to stay relevant in the nuclear age. Scientists imagined a nuclear commonwealth equipping Canada, Australia, and even India with British-made bombs. The idea? A decentralized empire of nuclear states under the Union Jack. But US pressure, global non-proliferation, and internal skepticism killed the plan. The atomic age wouldn't be British-led. The bomb made Britain powerful, but never supreme. Even within the UK, the expense of maintaining nuclear capability strained the economy. The Polaris missile program was outsourced to American tech. By the 1970s, dreams of a uniquely British atomic order had fizzled. The weapon that once symbolized global dominance became a symbol of constrained ambition. In the post-colonial age, Britain faced a question. What now? Some dreamed of Empire 2.0, a powerful bloc of former colonies tied together by trade, language, and loyalty. Think tanks envisioned free trade across Africa, Asia, and Oceania, but the world had changed. Former colonies sought independence, not allegiance. The Commonwealth remained a club, not an empire. The sun had set, and this time no project could raise it again. Despite royal visits and shared language, political unity never came. Former colonies had their own histories, their own futures. Trade deals failed to match EU or US appeal. Brexit revived talk of a new Commonwealth alliance, but that too remains mostly symbolic. The empire ended, and no sequel followed. Like these forgotten stories of lost ambition, Subscribe and hit the like button to uncover more empires that nearly were, but never came to be.